Hey everyone, welcome to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
And we have a new topic to discuss today, headline that's been coming out recently. Alec Baldwin has now been charged with involuntary manslaughter. We wanted to dive into it because seeing on the internet, there's a lot of people talking about it. Not everyone agrees. So we wanted to go over some of the specifics of the case. Stephanie's giving me the little motion right now because we've been debating this one all week. But we figured, hey, instead of debating it behind closed doors, let's talk about it on camera. So Stephanie has got us all the facts, and she's been trying to tell me things on the phone to kind of sway my opinion. I know what she's doing. So I was like, nope, save it for Crime Weekly News.
Well, I mean, listen, Alec Baldwin, he's an actor, right? Like a very well-known actor. He comes from a very well-known family of actors. They're huge in like the New York City area too. You know, he's a great actor, but I don't like that. I think Alec Baldwin is being treated differently because he's an actor. And I think that the whole situation to me is very suspicious. I don't see how it could have been completely accidental. I don't believe that it was completely accidental, but let's talk about, I guess, the specifics for those who don't know what happened and why he may be facing charges. We'll talk about it really quickly here. So on October 21st, 2021, Alec Baldwin was rehearsing a scene for this Western movie called Rust. And this Western movie is being filmed at the Bonanza Creek Ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And he was rehearsing a scene, and it involved cross-drawing a revolver and then pointing it towards the camera lens. So keep in mind, there's no film rolling. This is just a rehearsal. He's just rehearsing and practicing at this point. When he was practicing the cross-drawing motion and he pointed it at the camera, the gun actually discharged because it was a real gun, and it shot 42-year-old Halyna Hutchins, who was the cinematographer on the movie. And she was standing just a few feet away from Alec Baldwin, and she was standing to the left of the camera. So it struck her, the bullet, which was a live round, struck her in the chest, and then it went through her, and it struck the director, Joel Souza. He was wounded. She was transported or airlifted to the hospital in Albuquerque, and sadly, she died from her injuries. Now, the thing about this that's always really bothered me is Alec Baldwin has repeatedly denied pulling the trigger. He claims the gun just went off, and he believed that it didn't have live ammo in it. And in December of 2021, Alec Baldwin actually did an interview on ABC in which he said, quote, "Someone put a live bullet in a gun, a bullet that wasn't even supposed to be on the property. Someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who it is, but I know it's not me. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull the trigger at them. Never." End quote. But later, Baldwin actually did point the finger at two people who were also on the movie. We've got David Halls, who is the assistant director. He's actually the one who handed the gun to Alec Baldwin and told him it was a cold weapon, which means this is not loaded with real bullets. It's loaded with blanks, or it's not loaded at all, whatever. It's a cold weapon. It can't hurt anybody. And Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who was the armorer on set. And for those who don't know, the armorer is the person who's responsible for the weapons on the set, basically. Teaches people how to use them, teaches people how to safely use them, make sure that there's not live bullets in them and that this gun cannot hurt someone. So, yeah, there's a lot about this case that I'm not super comfortable with, because when you get down to the nitty gritty, like, it's not just as simple as like this was an accident and we don't know how this happened, because they don't know what happened yet, but they are charging Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who was the armorer, and Alec Baldwin with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. And the district attorney of Santa Fe County has said, quote, "I have determined that there is sufficient evidence. On my watch, no one is above the law, and everyone deserves justice." And the DA, who's Mary Carmack Altways, she said that Baldwin, who was a producer and a lead actor on the film, should never have pointed a gun at anyone. And I completely agree, which, whatever we find out here, that boils down to the crux of my issue. You don't point a gun at a person and pull the trigger. And I mean, he claims he didn't pull the trigger, right? But the FBI did, an experiment and basically put together a paper saying, like, there's no way, if this gun was functioning correctly, which it was, that this gun could have misfired or gone off without someone pulling the trigger. So like, I definitely think he pulled the trigger, even though he insists that he didn't. It's like a 1 in a billion chance that a gun like that would misfire without you pulling the trigger. There's a lot of things on a gun, I think, that's supposed to prevent it from misfiring. You know, there's safeties, and you have to do a couple, like, I think you have to pull back the hammer and do a couple of things before pulling the trigger and it's shooting out a bullet. But I think he pulled the trigger, and I just find it really hard to get past that. As somebody who owns guns, as somebody who goes to the shooting range, as somebody who prides themselves on safely handling a gun, it will be a cold day in hell before I ever take a gun and point it at a human being, much less take a gun, point it at a human being and pull the trigger. I don't care if somebody told me that there's gumdrops in the gum and not like live bullets. I don't care what you say. I'm never going to do that. And if I had to on a movie set, while the film's rolling, which keep in mind, this was just the rehearsal. There was no film rolling. If I have to do it, I'm checking myself to make sure that the bullets in the gun are not real. And I mean, there were 2 accidental discharges on this movie set just the week before. I believe it was October 16th that there was 2 accidental discharges of a weapon. So there was already stuff kind of happening that should have made Alec Baldwin a little bit extra nervous about, you know, using a real gun on set and maybe check himself. But I have more to say, but what do you think about this so far?
So I'll start by saying, for everyone out there, because it does matter, I don't like Alec Baldwin. I don't know him personally, obviously, but just from what I see on social media, online, the way he interacts with people, he's been caught on camera multiple times, not only with the paparazzi, which I think those guys they go overzealous. They do way too much, especially when actors and actresses are with their kids. But with him, it's like he's violent. He's just a dickhead, to be honest with you. I don't know how else to say it. And then
do you remember that video where he was like sending a video to his daughter and he was drunk and he was calling her like a fat, stupid pig? And like he's got a violent temper.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the guy. And then on top of that, just to add insult to injury, as this is all taking place, whether he knew he was going to be charged or not, you just got to read the room. And the other day he got a lot of shit, as I think he should have, where he's online on Instagram begging his followers to go follow his wife to get her to 1 million followers. It's just like your lack of self-awareness is crazy, or your sense of entitlement. So personally, not a fan of him. However, if I want
his wife, Halyna Baldwin.
Yeah, that's his wife. I didn't know her name.
Who pretended she was Spanish for like the last decade and talked with a Spanish accent, and then we all found out she was just Hillary from California.
I didn't know that, but
yeah.
But yeah,
there's a clip of her on like a cooking show, and she's like, "What do you call this? Cucumber? You call this cucumber?" This woman is not Spanish. Like, she has Spanish heritage, and her family like spends time in Spain, I guess, but like, she does not have an accent. Like, she was born in the United States. So
they're match made in heaven, I guess.
They're a bunch of clowns.
So first off, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer, no doubt, slam dunk. She's responsible for those guns. That's her sole job. You can't say it's an accident. That's negligence, right? Her actions or inactions resulted in the death of another. Pretty slam dunk for me. Now we get to Alec Baldwin. He is someone who's in the public eye, and so obviously everyone really cares about him. Nobody cares about Hannah. Sorry, Hannah. Nobody's really invested in her. But with Alec, there's 2 things going on here. I saw a small clip where I believe it was the DA saying like we're charging him both as a producer and as an actor. So to break those 2 things down, first off, we don't know all the circumstances yet regarding his role as an executive producer. It's probably pretty involved. He's making a lot of decisions. They're overseeing everyone on set. So there may be information that I'm not aware of where he was directly involved with kind of the distribution of firearms or the collection of them or whatever it might be that can clearly paint a picture where, as an executive producer, he also contributed to the negligence that led to the death of another person. I got no problem with that. We're good there. I don't really think it matters if he's charged as a producer or an actor or both. One way or the other, if they can prove that he had knowledge or could have prevented it, he's going to get charged. But just take it for a second. Let's say he wasn't the executive producer, just as an actor, because I know you feel really passionate about this. And you said something that I have never personally experienced, but I was watching something, I believe it was on CNN, where they had like an actor on, like a famous actor, and he was explaining something that makes sense to me. So they have protocols in place on these big movie sets where the armorers get the guns. They're the only ones that are supposed to touch the guns until they're handed to the actors. They refer to them as cold or whatever the acknowledgement is. And from what he was saying, this actor, and I'm sorry I don't know his name, I didn't care to find out. He was saying that there's actually policies, and he's been in like acting for 20, 30 years, where once the armorer hands the gun over to the actor is not allowed to open that firearm, to manipulate it in any way for this exact reason, because then the argument could be made like, oh, maybe the actor put a live round in there. So I don't know if this is true or not. It was on CNN. I'll find the guy's name if you guys think I'm lying, but he said, listen, I can tell you, I've been in multiple movies involving firearms. We are not allowed to manipulate or even check the gun in any way, even though I know you're shaking your head. I'm just saying that's the policy from what he was saying. No. And you can't check the gun based on the policies that are in place for the actors. No. But I do want to address, you're saying no. Are you telling me he's wrong?
That's not a policy at all. In fact, from what I could tell, they have very little policies about about guns on the set. And in fact, other actors came out, like George Clooney, for instance. George Clooney came out and he was like, I don't know about you, but I always check my gun before I shoot it. And Alec Baldwin did not like that. He was like, well, good for you. But he said like, if your protocol is, he said, quote, if your protocol is you checking the gun every time, well, good for you. Good for you. My protocol was to trust the person that had the job, and it worked up until this point, end quote. And even on this movie set, Jensen Ackles, you remember him from Supernatural? I don't know if you ever watched Supernatural.
Yeah.
But he's on this set, and he said that he personally checked to make sure the bullets in his gun were fake by visually looking at them and then shooting into the ground. So that's absolutely not a policy, like maybe on certain movies, but clearly not on this one. And on top of that, the armorer wasn't even the one who handed Alec Baldwin the gun, which is showing you the chaotic, like, nonsense that is happening on this movie to begin with.
That's the problem. And that's what I'm getting at. So as a producer, the policies that are in place. So let's say, for example, it wasn't Alec Baldwin who fired the gun, right? Let's say it was this no-name actor this is his first big movie, and Alec Baldwin, the executive producer, puts these policies in place where it's like not professional. Everyone's kind of handling the gun. Alec Baldwin has a policy in place as the executive producer where the actors aren't allowed to check them for safety. I don't think that no-name actor would have been charged, because I think the policies in place would have protected him. But because Alec Baldwin is the actor in the EP, he's got no excuse for it. But one more thing I wanted to talk about with you, you're probably not going to agree with me on, but it's about the actual action that took place. So you don't have to take my word for this. You can find hundreds of accidental discharges on TikTok, on YouTube, anywhere, from former DEA agents, ATF agents, where they're trying to do like a safety course and they go to grab their gun to show a tactical withdraw, and the gun goes off and shoots themselves in the leg or the ceiling. So what I think happened with Alec Baldwin, and again, this is still negligence. It doesn't clear him. When you're doing like a cross draw, so from what Stephanie was telling me before we filmed, he was supposed to do like a cross draw and point it at the camera, right? Like that was like the scene. Like it was supposed to be like you would see him pointing at you through the lens.
Yes.
So what I think happened was when he was pulling it out, and a lot of people do this, a lot of police officers have done this as well. In that moment where you're gripping it fast, you're supposed to always grip it when you go down, not to go too deep with this, but you always keep your shooting finger, your trigger finger out. So that goes along the barrel or the slide of the gun. So your finger should never touch the trigger when you're squeezing the gun handle, because your natural reaction, if you have your trigger finger anywhere near the trigger, when you squeeze the handle, you're obviously going to squeeze that trigger finger as well. So what I think happened is when he was cross-drawing that gun out, because she was off, you said to the left, right, of the camera?
Yeah, to the left.
When he was drawing that gun out, he did exactly what I just said you shouldn't do. He had his finger on the trigger. So do I think he deliberately pulled the trigger to go boom into the camera? Maybe not. But I absolutely think that when he squeezed the handle of the gun to pull it out of the holster, he squeezed off around. And it just so happened that as he was going to point the gun at the camera, he shot the cinematographer instead. And so
he pulled the trigger.
Yeah, he pulled the trigger as he was squeezing the handle. So he's pulling it out, trying to look all badass, pull it out of his holster. And as he's doing that, he's squeezing the handle because he's trying to get a grip on it. And he squeezes the trigger in the process, shooting her directly.
Why is he saying he didn't pull the trigger?
I don't think his intention
But
was
he
to pull
did. So why is he lying?
So what I'm saying is he is looking at it like, honestly, in that moment, also being as traumatic as it was, all he might remember, and I'm not giving him an excuse here. Again, don't like the guy. I think my opinion, he's probably lying. Yep. But if he's not lying, it could be a situation where all he remembers is grabbing the handle of the gun and coming up, not realizing that, hey, dude, your finger was on the trigger. And I'm going to tell you something else that's going to hurt him, as it should. There's cameras everywhere. They're rolling. So when that camera goes, standing in front of him, I'm sure there's going to be a spot where even after he shoots her, you can probably catch a clip of where his finger placement is. And
I don't think they were rolling. I think they were just rehearsing.
But usually don't they roll on practice shots? Because isn't it like, no, I mean, you don't roll on rehearsal just in case you get something good. No?
Yeah, I don't believe so. I think they were just like seeing, you've practiced this, like, let us see it before we start rolling. But either way, man, can I tell you some things that look suspicious? Like, there's some suspicious things here. Are you ready
hit me with it, because you were starting to say it on the phone. I was like, no, you're not doing this to me yet.
Because there wasn't just one live round on the set. Okay.
Yeah, which makes the whole situation worse.
Yeah. So besides the live round in the gun, there was 5 other real bullets found. And there was 2 rounds. So basically 2 live rounds were on the top of the prop cart, which is ridiculous. A third was in the bandolier or the belt of Jensen Ackles. The 4th was found in the brown holster worn by Baldwin. And the 5th was found in a box of dummy ammo. It's insane. And they say, like, oh, it's unclear how the real bullet got into the container. It's unclear how the bullet got into the gun, things like that. But
unprofessionalism, negligence, I mean, that should never happen.
It's insane to me. And Hannah Gutierrez, I guess, said, oh, this gun's good. And then the VP, who's David Halls, he grabbed it off the cart and brought it in. And he said, I opened it and checked them, but I didn't check every one. And I should have. And these people are so ridiculous. Like, screw these Hollywood people who are holding guns as if they're props. These are real guns. Whether they have real bullets in them or not, they are real guns. This was a Colt 45.
You got to treat them like they're loaded with a real
Treat it with reverence and always treat it as if it's loaded. You stupid Hollywood assholes who think everything's a game. It's not a game. This is a gun. It can kill somebody. It will likely kill somebody if it goes off. There's no, getting past that. And they're just so laissez-faire about it. I cannot stand it. Don't use real guns. Stop it. I've seen plenty of guns that are fake guns that look like real guns. It's not that important when people are getting shot. It's ridiculous. But anyways, they also suggested that maybe the prop supplier, his name's Seth Kenny, maybe he was the one to introduce the live rounds to the set. So investigators searched his Albuquerque workshop in November of 2021, and they examined his live rounds, and they said, quote, the chemistry testing revealed all the powder in these cartridges were uniform, however, did not match the cartridges collected on the set of Rust, end quote. That is interesting. That's interesting to me, because it sounds like somebody planted those bullets there, if you want to know what I think. And some things that seem suspicious to me is literally hours before this incident, there was a walkout by 6 members of the camera crew who were basically quitting because they were upset about working conditions, long work days, delayed paychecks, and they were also angry because they had previously quit and they went to go collect their things that day and they found out that they'd been replaced with non-union workers, so they were pissed. And then, like I said, there was at least 2 accidental gun discharges on the set. October 16th, just days before this fatal shooting. Alec Baldwin claims to not have known about the accidental discharges. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a second. And there was an unnamed crew member who said, quote, there should have been an investigation into what happened, talking about those accidental discharges. There were no safety meetings. There was no assurance that wouldn't happen again. All they wanted to do was rush. And you'll see that on movie sets because time is money. They got to get going. And the New York Times reported that someone had texted the production manager saying, now we've had 3 accidental discharges. This is super unsafe. So am I supposed to believe that the production manager knew about this, but Alec Baldwin, who is a producer, had no idea? I don't know about that. Okay, so next we're going to go into the fact that they put out a search warrant. They wanted a search warrant for Alec Baldwin's phone. And they asked for it back in November, and he didn't turn it over until January 14th. And then at that point, he didn't even turn it over to the New Mexico police. He turned it over to the Suffolk County police in New York. because that's where he lived. The detective, Alexandria Hancock, she first asked his attorney for a forensic download of his cell phone in November of 2021. His legal team resisted. He's always been like, I've cooperated fully. No, you didn't. His legal team resisted, telling law enforcement in New Mexico to get a warrant in New York where he lived. A final data extraction of his phone didn't happen until August 17th, 2022. Okay? This happened in October, months later. Would any other suspect who was in his situation be allowed this much time to basically hold on to his phone? Okay, so that's what happened. And here's what the report said. Quote, for the first time, investigators were able to see Baldwin's candid private comments about what had happened. But the surprise is the absence of comments immediately after Hutchins' death. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Department reported they found no record of calls or messages on the day of the October 21st shooting or even the day after. They did, however, find something from 2 days afterwards on 10/23/2021. Alex sent a message to his assistant, Jonah Foxman, and advises, I have to delete my archive. There's no further details on the meaning of this message. End quote. I think we can understand the meaning of this message. Now, does that mean Alec Baldwin's hiding some plot or motive to purposely kill Halyna Hutchins? Probably not. I think we should definitely look in to see if they had some issues between them, because what better motive or what better perfect crime than that? But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I think that he probably sent messages where he was like, oh shit, I knew about accidental discharges. I knew that we weren't being as safe as we could have. That's what he deleted, because he is negligent and he is responsible, period. Lock him up. I don't want to see that dude walking out free. No. I don't want to see it. He needs to go to prison. Okay? I don't care.
No, I definitely don't disagree with you. I think that he probably knew a lot more leading up to it and then after, and that's obviously why there's an absence of interactions on his phone immediately following the incident. It's just the prosecution really has to dot their I's, cross their T's, and make sure they have a solid case, because he's going to have some great lawyers, and if they misstep even once, his defense attorneys are going to eat him up, because this is a very delicate case where, depending on how it's laid out, it could go one way or another. We see it happen all the time, and he's got a lot of money, and as much as we don't like it, these elite, they have a different set of circumstances they play by. So he's going to have great attorneys. They're going to fight this. There was one thing, David Hall, you mentioned him. He already pled, and I have a feeling, a sneaking suspicion, only the two of them were charged this time around with Hannah and Alec. Mm-hmm. Don't be surprised that David's a key witness. I mean, I have no inside information, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I agree. He
might have took a deal.
He was the assistant director, so he's actually the one who handed Alec the gun, right?
That's what I'm saying. And he only got, what did you say, 6 months?
6 months of probation. He entered a guilty plea to a misdemeanor charge of negligent use of a deadly weapon. 6 months probation. So, I think you might be right.
He might have got a deal.
And he may have some inside tea, some inside information.
He might be a cooperating
make Mr.
witness.
Alec Baldwin look not so much like the choir boy he's been trying to present himself as.
Right. Yeah, no, for him to go in there and make it seem like Alec Baldwin, the EP, first and foremost, a veteran actor,
right,
been on a million movie sets, and not only
a million movie sets where he's used guns, by the way.
Yeah, he's had experience with firearms before. He is the executive producer on this movie. He is he's a boss. He's in charge of everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure everyone's safe and healthy, and obviously it all goes the way it should go, and everyone's protected. And just from that standard alone, he failed. And it seems like they were running a really loose ship, and he was the captain of that ship. So he's got some problems.
If you want to make boss money, Alec Baldwin, you need to take boss responsibility, okay? You can't just go sauntering onto set, collect your paycheck, and have no responsibility for those people on that set. And I'm sorry that you want to just take someone's word and be like, oh, this gun's okay to shoot at somebody. Screw you, dude. Never in my life would I take anybody. I don't trust nobody. That person could have set you up. You're a famous actor. I'm sure somebody has an axe to grind with you because you're a dick. And I'm sure you pissed lots of people off.
Guy.
So you literally think you have no enemies and you're just completely safe to go shooting guns at people? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Check the gun, or just don't pull the trigger, which he claims he didn't, but I don't believe him. So that's all.
We'll see how it goes. I'm interested to hear how, because it's obviously going to change the movie business, as it should, where anybody who's doing this. I mean, this isn't the first time this has happened. We were talking about Brandon Lee when this first came up. We were talking about it. So, and I think it's happened where I'm sure it's happened where you've had accidental discharges that didn't result in death, but we don't hear about it. But in the movie world, people know about it. So there's definitely going to be some changes. And I can tell you, if Alec Baldwin is charged, and part of the reasoning behind it is that as an actor, he didn't check the gun, I can tell you right now, there's going to be some big time actors out there, because a lot of movies with guns in them where they're going to have their own people and them checking every single gun. The movie's day is going to get a lot longer.
Why wouldn't you? I'm sorry. Yeah. It takes 2 seconds and it's somebody's life. Why wouldn't you? You grown ass child that you think you're just like going to sit. No.
If you're an actor and you don't have experience with guns and you don't know the difference between a blank and a real gun, yeah, you could always fire it into the ground, all that stuff. That would kind of limit it. But even if you fire the first round into the ground, the second round could be a live round. So
no, you call the armor over, you say, pop open this bitch and show me that every single one of these bullets in here are blanks. And in fact, we're shooting at the camera right now. So does there even really need to be blanks in here? You know, we can put sound effects. It's 23. We got Avatar universes happening, okay? Avatar universes. We can't like make the sound of a gun without an actual bullet. Get the hell out of here with this. There's no place for guns on a movie set. These stupid ass Hollywood people don't know how to handle them, and they don't clearly take responsibility for their own actions. So throw the book at him. I don't want to see his ass walking out anymore.
Final question for you. I got the final question for you.
What is it?
Does Rust ever come out?
Yo, they finished it, man. It came out.
It's already out?
I think it's out, yes.
No.
I think so.
No, it's not out. No way.
Rust will be completed and still star Alec Baldwin as he faces involuntary manslaughter charges in death of crew member.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not out yet.
What world do these people live in where that's okay, man? Like,
if he gets charged, if he gets convicted, do you think the movie comes out? And I want you guys to weigh in the comments below. If Alec Baldwin gets found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, does the production company, does whoever's distributing it, do they still put it out? Now you'll have 3 people who've been arrested for the death of Halyna, and do they still put the movie out in theaters? You say yes?
Yes.
Okay. I say I'm going to go with no. Just to be opposite. We want to hear from you in the comments. Does Rust still come out? Yeah, just to be the opposite. Just to be on the other end of the aisle. So we want you to weigh down below. Tell us what you think. At minimum, I definitely think it's going to change movie sets for the better, because now everyone's going to be on high alert, realizing that you can't just trust the person who's supposed to be responsible for the gun. Once it's handed over to you as an actor, it is now your responsibility. And unless you want to be in a position like this, you need to make sure that gun is safe. Any final words from you, Stephanie?
I think I've said it all.
We appreciate you joining us here on Crime Weekly News. We will see you next week.
Bye.